Vietnam. Let's put your hands together, guys. Just make some noise. Let's send it over to your casters to close it out. It's going to be Monte Cristo and Doa.
Hey, that's right, Doa and Monte Cristo here for our last match of the day, Vietnam versus Japan. And, you know, I'm still kind of getting over the shock of Spain 4-0ing Finland there. So I don't know if I'm quite ready for this one yet, but I think we're going to be able to ease into it with some nice McCree play, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so as well. And as Flame said, I'm getting a little eccentric for Japan right here.
I feel very eccentric for Japan.
I'm getting a little strange, even more than normal, but
that's right.
It's been a strange Group D, right? At the very least, not what we would have expected. But this is Japan's big chance to take a massive lead heading into the final day of the Overwatch World Cup here in Sydney and really put themselves far in advance of the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, what an opportunity for Japan. You know, they take down Spain yesterday, and now today they come in after Spain takes down Finland, just an open group ahead of them. And they've got, you know, arguably, you know, sorry Vietnam, but they've got arguably the weakest opponent at the Sydney stage to go up against.
Yeah, they've got to show up big today. K. Jerry had some major plays, and the other side of this coin is if Vietnam improves, if they are able to take a convincing win here against Japan, well, that puts us in a situation where Group D is, it's basically a total wash at that point. Everything would be up for grabs tomorrow.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, you know, we talked to Vietnam a little bit earlier in the week, and, you know, we know these guys are still students, most of them. You know, they're not really playing full-time. They're doing well in Vietnam, but they seem to really struggle yesterday. So I'd like to see some improvement. We'll see what they can bring in here. Japan on the defense here on Kings Row. Vietnam gets the opportunity to attack first.
And will be Yoz on the Ana one more time. Japan heavily nano-boosting their Winston player Dearton over and over again yesterday to create space for that back line and for Tayo to clean up.
Yeah, that was really interesting. I mean, Japan was basically just a battering ram all match long, but it served them really well. I mean, the aggression was something that their opponents just weren't ready for, and Vietnam, see if they can match that on their own aggressive push. Here we go.
Now, Japan is going to be playing the low ground on the back of the point, so no Ana up high here, trying to protect her with the tank line, and a bit of poking from both sides as Vietnam comes in. No soldier here for the longer range damage.
Japan is playing it pretty far back here by the hotel. Emrier getting a little bit up in the face of the blue team here, diving in now. And Vietnam has to back off. Japan trying to be careful as well. Good disengage there. Some people getting a little bit low, though. AKTM goes down first. Dearton soon to follow, and actually that is a pretty resounding fight for Vietnam.
Yeah, Tayo only getting the kill onto Maverick. You can see them collapse. Japan overcommitted at the front of the hotel with their tank line, and Vietnam was ready, caught them, and then cleaned up the fight. Immediately afterwards, only the support left. Tayo trying to delay, but that's going to be a headshot.
Yeah, actually, Japan coming back in hard, and they have actually managed to keep Vietnam off it for the second tier. Emrier goes down. Japan maybe has an opportunity to turn this around. Are you kidding me? Yoz even gets a grenade kill onto the other side, and I don't know, man. Vietnam coming back in, but Japan's delayed it for a while. There we go, finally getting the payload rolling. But now the question is, was that maybe a bit of an overcommitment by Japan to that defense?
Yeah, I think it may have been, Doa. Also, K. Jerry there, interestingly, looking like he self-destructed towards the end of that fight after Japan was already pushed off the point. So maybe a problem there for Vietnam. They will be down one ult, but so much charge gained from the extended fight and from Japan leaping back into the fray on point A.
True enough. Emrier back on board with him, and his Genji's got the Dragon Blade to use if he needs to. Vietnam with a decent amount of ults to push forward with. Japan actually looking good in the ult department. Here we go, Emrier coming in with the Nano Blade. Gets a kill onto Yoz right off the bat, looking for more targets now. Sound barrier for Vietnam to try to keep their Genji up. Japan uses their Lucio ult as well. That payload stalled for the moment. Japan getting pushed back though. They're going to go ahead and desuit the Diva. Jasper on his own now. He's not going to last too long, and Vietnam should be able to keep this payload moving.
Everybody used their ultimates in that fight, but because Japan got the first pick, are just coming in aggressively with the nano-boosted Dragon Blade, they are able to outlast their opponents, and that's going to reset everybody's ult economy. Late kill onto AKTM by K. Jerry means that this payload's going to be pushing for quite a while.
Yeah, and when we think about Japan's match yesterday, the one thing they weren't necessarily that great on was defense. And we're kind of seeing that a little bit more today as they're struggling to stop Vietnam here in their first push on Kings Row.
Yeah, they are, and we do see the high ground being toyed with right now by Tayo, trying to set up, trying to create a zone, but they are just getting forced back right now and underneath the catwalk.
Okay, Jerry chasing down Dearden, using that self-destruct. We'll see if he catches anybody. He does finish off Dearden with that ultimate. AKTM comes back in with the kill on the Maverick, but Vietnam still overall winning this fight slightly ahead, and that's a nice kill from Rhea onto Yos. Getting that Ana out of the way is big, and that's going to free him up to use the Dragon Blade to help Vietnam claim point B.
Now, this match has really been about Emrier and his positioning and use of Dragon Blade so far.
Yeah.
Convincing in the way that he's cleaning up these team fights, and now he's going to push forward, try and get that up as fast as he can, throwing a few more of the shuriken right into the choke point, and really nothing has been able to stop Vietnam so far.
Yeah, that's the plan. AKTM getting pretty close on the other side to that tac visor. Emrier finally does go down. Meanwhile, back on board with Simple here, as Vietnam backs off for just a moment. Got to regroup. And finally, Japan getting a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, they do get some room. Yos has switched over to the Zenyatta at AKTM. A while back, did make the change over to the Soldier 76. He was most convincing, I think, on some of these hit scan heroes yesterday.
That is a ton of time for Vietnam to keep pushing this point,
that
though.
is
Whoa!
a big pulse bomb from Tayo.
Oh, yeah, that certainly helps. And Japan finally starting to gain a little bit of momentum, winning the last couple fights now. Vietnam coming in with some ultimates, but Japan seems to be matching.
Now, they still have the nano boost, but again, not a good target. They want to put it on Emrier. That's what we saw from their engagement earlier.
Yeah.
And he's going to take a little bit more time to work his way up to a Dragon Blade. So poking, see how long they want to wait before they pull that trigger.
Sure enough, sound barrier for Vietnam. They're going to go in right here, right now. Emrier very close to his ultimate. Gonna have to worry about AKTM and that tac visor. A lot of worry, actually, as he's gonna pick up 2 kills already and another defensive fight win for Japan.
Yeah, Vietnam wanted to use the sound barrier to come in and engage. Simple pops it early, but Japan vanishes and counters it with the tac visor. So a little bit more patience there from Japan. They're gonna switch to a Reinhardt now on Maverick.
Yeah, check this out. Reinhardt coming in now. I think that's a good switch for this point. If you want to push forward safely, Dearden actually caught with that sleep dart. He's going to go down. Emrier with the Dragon Blade and the Nano Boost coming in right here, right now. Yos pops the Transcendence, but can he keep the rest of his team alive? Looks like he can for the moment. They lost 1, but Vietnam still not pushing too far ahead. I guess the payload's starting to move a little bit more now as Japan had to back off. AKTM narrowly going down, but survives. Vietnam, though, that payload stalled out for the moment. Dearden comes in with the kill on Emrier, rather. There's the sound barrier. And Japan looking for another team fight win here.
Vietnam is really committing ultimates at this point in time. They use both the Nano Boost and the Dragon Blade to try and make a play, but with the Transcendence up, everyone from Japan clustered inside of Zenyatta's ultimate. And especially Maverick died at the very start of that fight to a flank from Tayo, is going to make the change back to Winston right now.
Okay. Yeah, they like that threat on the back lines a little bit more. Both tanks for Vietnam going in over the top, as you can see here. Emrier has to be a little bit careful here. Dearden can come in and cause some troubles for him. Funky a little bit about half health. K-Jerry nearly goes down. Funky does go down as well. Japan with the early lead in this fight and a nice self-destruct kill onto Simple from Jasper. Japan, again, holding strong, and they have brought Vietnam down to 1:30 left in the attack run.
And Vietnam has been really focusing on a lot of these ultimate combos, waiting for the Nano Boost and the Dragon Blade, trying to get the full wipe and the long push.
Yeah.
Funky's just been on Ana this entire time. Maybe after this next Nano Boost might be a time for a swap over to the Zenyatta so they can get the pick with the Orb of Discord and make the fight a little bit more of a snowball grind.
We'll see. I mean, Vietnam's just hit a brick wall at this point. Japan really stopping them well, but maybe Emrier can change that. Pulls out the Dragon Blade, waits for it, but AKTM coming back in. 2 kills already with that tac visor, make it 3, and now under a minute left for Vietnam.
And Funky didn't use the Nano Boost right now, which means it's going to have to come down onto Maverick instead in this next fight. Japan tapped out Claire, at least getting closer to a sound barrier. It's the necessary defense they'll need if he can get a few more percentage up.
So can Vietnam use Japan's tactics against him? Can they maybe give Maverick onto Winston the Nano Boost, send him in there like Japan loves to do with Dearden? We'll find out. They got to try. Nano Boost used. Uh-oh, Funky in a lot of trouble, gets taken out early on. See who got the Nano Boost. Okay, they did actually put it on Maverick, but he wasn't able to get a whole lot done. And Japan, with that sound barrier, able to keep everybody safe enough that they take down Vietnam one more time. Another couple kills with that self-destruct. Yo's does go down on the Japan side, but overall it's a strong hold, and Japan may just have it right here.
They couldn't chain up the ultimates properly that time, and that is the danger of Vietnam going for those big plays, is that you can get stalled out because you commit so many resources to getting that team wipe, and if it fails, then you find yourself well behind in the ult economy. And Japan stabilizes, and it doesn't go too far into the foundry phase on point C.
I think Japan was a little bit surprised at the beginning about just the effectiveness of the attack from Vietnam. They executed it really well and kind of threw Japan off their game. But in point C, they were able to stabilize, able to kind of get things together again. And now they've got a pretty good opportunity to actually take this map.
Yeah, Vietnam did well on that first attack, though. They waited for the tank line to come in. And part of Japan's style that we've seen has been putting their tanks very, very far forward, which does leave them vulnerable from getting cut off from the rest of the team. So Vietnam needs to keep an eye on the front line of Japan, try and just drive a wedge between the tanks and support if they do go too far forward, because that's where they had the most success.
Yeah, here's the scary part now for Vietnam, because you know that aggression is coming from Japan, and they were so good at it yesterday in their match that, you know, we'll see how they do today. But you are right that Vietnam, you know, if they were watching that match, which I'm sure they will, kind of knows what's up. You know, Japan seems to be a very binary team in like how they decide to go in. And that's something that's exploitable, at least a little bit.
Yeah, did lead to the faster point A take, that's for sure.
Right.
They are going to stick with the Ana for now, Vietnam, and they're posting a little bit further up top, at least with the Genji in the upper window, and the Winston, the Ana, also on the high ground. So a bit of a different defense this time. They're looking to try and, again, drive that wedge in if the tanks make too aggressive a move onto the point or onto the high ground.
So Yo's is on the Zenyatta, not going with the Ana that we saw him play a lot of yesterday. AKTM on the Genji as well, which he had some success with, but I kind of was liking the Soldier and the McCree a little bit more, but we'll see what they can get done on King's Row. Here comes the attack. Japan wasting no time at all in rushing in through the first choke. They're diving in. Dearden already over the top here, and that's going to bring Vietnam down from the high ground. They need to defend here somehow, some way. Meanwhile, AKTM gets in the back lines. Yos with a nice pick onto Mr. Hip. That's a great start for Japan, and they've kind of got Vietnam bottled up in the back corner here.
And Vietnam, they needed to pull the trigger on the dive just a little bit sooner, because Japan, they just walked straight onto the point there.
Oh,
without the dive composition even coming into play onto the low ground, and then they had to contest all 6 members on the point. But Yo's definitely doing a lot of work. He opened up that point with the pick onto Tracer.
Yeah, 2 big picks actually. He killed both DPS in that fight, and that's just some really great Zenyatta play.
It is. I'm sure the rest of his team is saying "Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto" right now.
Yes, that is exactly what they're saying. I'm pretty sure. Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Roboto. Zenyatta really is the best hero for everything, isn't he? Best references.
For jokes.
Oh, yeah.
For sweet picks at the start of fights.
Domo. Well, Japan gets the payload moving. That was great. Japan gets the payload moving. Vietnam with a little bit of chance to regroup here, but it's a strong start for the blue team. AKTM, you know, he went really deep in that last fight, kind of in the back lines. I mean, he's dead now, but I'm still going to say good things about him. And that, you know, brought some threat onto the back line as well, kind of pulled Vietnam's defense apart, just like it's being done right now. Dearden taking a quick nap for the moment. Going to pop that Primal Rage. He actually survived the self-destruct from K-Jerry just barely. It's kind of on the edge of that one.
Just clean up onto the cart right now.
Yeah.
Vietnam attempting to delay it for as long as they can. Yos has the Transcendence, both support ults available, so AKTM with a lot of protection to use this Dragon Blade if they want to be aggressive and go in. Vietnam, again, has the nano boost, but it's been a little bit desynced with the DPS, and it's going to have to go on Maverick one more time.
Meanwhile, Japan with nearly 6 ultimates ready to go. Dearden having to use that Primal Rage before, but here we go. Nano boost onto Maverick. They're going to drop the sound barrier really early, and AKTM coming in with the Dragon Blade. A little bit early, but he still gets the kill on Emrier. Jasper manages to find one with his ult as well. Oh, nice reflect on the biotic grenade. AKTM capitalizes, and that's just another really great fight for Japan.
Vietnam, I think, was trying to catch them by surprise right there in an attempt to keep them from getting that point B, because the cart has to go such a small distance, such a short distance, in order for Japan to go ahead and take King's Row.
They've got 5 minutes now to do it with, too.
Yeah,
so.
It was really telegraphed, and AKTM on the fading sound barrier able to clean up the kills with the Dragon Blade.
Yeah, you can't really blame Vietnam for trying that, but Japan now finds themselves in a great place to finish this map. AKTM with that kill onto Simple looking pretty good, and you can see in the bottom right part of your screen, that payload does not need to move very far to finish this one. AKTM in the back again, gets the double dash reset kills onto Mr. Hip and Funky, and Japan crushing Vietnam on this attack round.
Absolutely, defense a little bit shaky, but attack even more decisive. Japan with plenty of time left in that bank on King's Row, and they take an easy first map.
Wow, well, you know, looking a little bit shaky on the defense, which they did a little bit yesterday too, but offense is really where Japan seems to excel, and man, they crushed it yet again.
Yeah, you can see Japan too. They go for more of the incremental plays, trying to get the picks and keep the cart sort of slowly moving along rather than those big wipes.
That's right.
And the Japanese committee looks like they're having a great time in the audience right now.
Dude, yeah, Yoza Zenyatta, that was some of the sickest Zenyatta play I've seen in a while.
I mean, we talked to these guys, and they said, watch out for Yoz. He's really good at getting those opening pickoffs that can turn the tide of these fights, and he delivered.
Certainly is. Well, Japan finds themselves one map up over Vietnam already. Vietnam, of course, gets to choose the next map. From our screen, it looks like they're going to go with Nepal. And so an opportunity on Control to tie this series up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we didn't get to see a lot here from Vietnam. We saw yesterday that Jerry was able to get some big multi-kills on that Diva, and at least Emrier had a few good Dragon Blades in this match, but they really commit very hard to a lot of these plays, and sometimes that can result in falling behind in that ult economy.
Well, AKTM making a huge difference on that Genji. You know, we can see right there in that initial attack onto point A, he went farther than the payload. He went really, really deep and was able to sort of like counter the counter dive almost. Worked out well.
Yeah, it certainly did. So now we're going to go to a more chaotic skirmish-based map type and see if Vietnam can bounce back here, whether Japan will continue their role in Group D.
Yep.
It's become a situation with all the upsets that every map is crucially important to who's going to be taking first and second place.
Dude, if Japan is able to 4-0 Vietnam, they will be at 7-1 in maps in the group, and that's going to put them way ahead of everybody else at this point.
Yeah, with how Finland is playing too, you have to look at their matchup and say, well, coming into it, it could be a scenario where even one or two maps there could make the difference in who goes out. So
yeah, very true.
It's going to be an interesting experience, especially with Spain's revival today. Last week in Shanghai, it looked a little bit more cut and dried, but this time around, it's been much more chaotic.
True enough. Well, here we go on to our second map of this 4-map series. It's going to be Nepal, our control map. And if Zenyatta felt at home in King's Row, which you would not think he would because they really hate Omnix there, he's going to feel really at home.
He just got really angry in King's Row,
He did. He's like, well, guess what? I hate humans. Pretty much. Another Omnix on the other side.
It's weird, too, because Tracer was the one trying to save Mandata, right? And then Zenyatta just went into a Berserker rage.
Well, you know, you can only push a good Omnix so far.
Before you go full bender, kill all humans.
That's right. Well, Zenyatta has some voice lines where he's like regretful that he has to like resort to violence, but
do you know that is a choice that he's making, right?
Mandata wouldn't approve. It's like,
he is making that decision at the end of the day.
True. He's bloodthirsty. I know he is. And you know what? Mandata, if you would have backed yourself up on like a little zip drive or something, it wouldn't have mattered if Widowmaker shot you in the head because you could just upload yourself in a different body.
I mean, not even a cloud backup. The future really needs to protect its data better.
Yeah, I watched Chappie recently, and that really underscored how important it is to back up your consciousness. So, Mandata, sorry, man. A little bit behind the times. Well, Japan in the blue as we move into Nepal, Vietnam in the red, and we've got a Reaper. AKTM shows us yet another pick. This guy can play pretty much everything, I'm sure, at this point.
Yeah, it's been exciting to see the diversity of heroes that he's managed to bring out. Tayo, of course, just sticking onto that Tracer right now, but they are just going to leap onto the point and dare them to walk into the Reaper right now. Winston has to run away. He's just trying to take this 1v1. This is an easy 1v1 for a Reaper.
Winston Chase 2017, and it is pretty successful for AKTM. And they are going to claim the point pretty quick.
Well, there was nothing fancy about that. Run onto the point, make sure that your Reaper is going to be in close range, and they have to contest you. And then they got the Winston isolated onto the side. AKTM ran the tank down, and now they're firmly in control of this point.
Yeah. All right, AKTM dropping down from above, and again, chasing down the Winston. It's a dangerous time to be Maverick.
It is. The big game hunting is real right now from Reaper. Although most people don't big game hunt with shotguns. That's quite dangerous.
Yeah.
You don't want to get that close.
I don't know. I mean, if you've got one in each hand, I guess maybe you're okay there. Who knows?
AKTM likes a thrill.
We're going to have to start calling AKTM Iceman, because you're sure giving Maverick a hard time.
Oh! Our reference game is on point this past.
If you say so. AKTM looking for more victims. Oh, but K-Jerry finds him. Revenge of the tanks. Meanwhile, Tayo fighting for his life as Vietnam storms back onto the point. Yo's on that Ana, throws in the biotic grenade to keep everybody up. And there's the nano boost. Ooh, did he hit the sleep guard? He was really close. He managed to scare, well, get you away for the moment anyway, but Emrier comes back in for a sit kill. They are still on the point, though. And with that self-destruct for Jasper, maybe that's enough to help them hold it. Vietnam starting to run out of people, but the respawn's coming back in. AKTM back on the point.
And the shotguns are going to do work. He's had to switch targets right now.
Yep.
But that stall from the nano boost, giving D.Va the extra tankiness combined with the self-destruct, allows AKTM to get back and do the work with the shotguns. Not sure you wanted to go up there.
He's, being stealthy up there on the pillars. No one noticed me. I am a bird. I'm just a pigeon.
The deadliest pigeon in this case.
That's right. Cluck, cluck, cluck.
He's sneaking around right now. K-Jerry needs to find him with that defense matrix before he can use the Death Blossom. Holding on to it for now. Well, I got booped away, so.
Well, yeah, still kills coming through for Japan, and there's a Primal Rage now from Maverick. AKTM has to be a little bit careful here, but he gets kind of bounced to safety there. Vietnam with a couple kills, but it's still fairly even overall. It's already 99% for Japan as well.
They still have to get onto this point right now. Should be able to flip here in overtime as Mr. Hip found AKTM on the backside of the point. So reset now coming in for Japan. They used pretty much all their ultimates going into that fight, and now Vietnam in a similar position, but they can at least stall with the self-destruct. And there isn't a support ult right now to deal with Embrier's Dragon Blade if he wants to be decisive with it.
And true enough, Vietnam with an opportunity to hold here for a while, but Japan doesn't need to necessarily retake the point back right this second. There's the Dragon Blade coming up for Emrier. Meanwhile, Yos does go down courtesy of Mr. Hip yet again. Self-destruct does catch Tayo, actually. And Japan losing members here. They're going to drop the sound barrier. They're committing to this one really fast. And Vietnam, getting pushed off the point.
Yeah, they are. AKTM making the swap to Genji because a lot harder to attack with a Reaper than it is to defend the point because they don't have to walk into you. Instead, you walk into them. So he's still going to be doing work, though, 70% of the way to his Dragon Blade already.
Yeah. Now Lucio is being annoying up in the roof, but they got rid of him. I hate it when I have a roof Lucio problem. Japan able to flip the point back, and they're at 99%. We're into OT yet again. Vietnam needs to get back here in a hurry, and they get there just in time. Maverick does go down, though. No Winston for the Vietnam side. Tayo takes down Simple, and is that going to be it? Can they get back in time? Not quite. And Japan will take round number 1 here on Nepal.
Yeah, looking pretty dominant there. I really like the way they switched it up. You can see their strategy for that point shrine. Go ahead, speed boost everybody to the point as fast as possible. Most teams like to poke on the point before it unlocks, but if you have that Reaper, you take advantage of getting yourself entrenched there before the fight can actually begin. And if you're knocked off, go ahead and make that switch. Play the Genji instead, where you can use that mobility, and you don't have to just walk straight into a fight as Reaper and get poked down over time. So you see that they have a very cogent way of approaching this particular point on Nepal.
Yeah. Well, here we are. Back once again. Looks like it's going to be Village this time. Vietnam with a chance to tie things up. Pretty standard comps from both sides yet again.
AKTM this time on the Soldier 76, so they are going to be playing more of a poke-based game. Emery sticking to the Genji.
Whoa, Maverick going way deep there, but Emery right there to try to support him. Claire on the outside trying to provide some support from the tertiary edges of that fight. Vietnam pushed back a bit. Maverick went in so early and he couldn't quite get back out. Missed her hip, trying to come from behind, but can't quite find the kills he's looking for. AKTM more or less untouched on that high ground, and Japan going to claim the point early yet again.
Well, Vietnam allowed themselves to get herded into a corner while AKTM had no pressure on him, walked into the catwalk and was firing into the wall. So it makes it very easy for Japan when AKTM is not contested whatsoever.
Well, I really like what Claire did in that last fight, actually. He knew the Winston would be coming in, so he kind of dropped down to the side and provided the kind of displacement with his right click to give his team a little bit more of a shot to bottle up Vietnam. Meanwhile, Jasper running down Anna. That's a nice pulse bomb, takes out Funky, and that's going to be a pretty decisive win for Japan.
Yeah, especially with the Transcendence coming through as well, cleaning it up ever so slowly with those melee attacks. And they're going to hold on to their control of the point. AKTM did go down, but he's going to return with a tactical visor. Simple needs to time this right with the sound barrier.
Okay. Japan with some delay tools. Got that self-destruct. AKTM has that tactical visor.
Yeah, nearly a Primal Rage.
True.
On Dayarten as well. So Japan gonna probably be close to a 99% hold. And Vietnam gonna have to play this crisply if they want to flip it.
Here comes the Dragon Blade. That's going to be a sound barrier for both sides here. AKTM backing up with that tac visor. Funky does go down early in the fight. Trying to fight off the tank line. Everybody's trying to kill AKTM. Self-destruct kills on both sides here. AKTM trying to get back to the point. Vietnam very close to flipping it right now, but Tayo comes in for the sick double kill, and it looks like Japan should be able to hold.
And Vietnam, again, you see the big commitment with that ult economy. They go ahead and use the Nano Boost and the Dragon Blade and the Sound Barrier simultaneously, but that's a bit disrespectful because if Japan just uses one Sound Barrier at the right time, you could nullify almost all of those ultimates. They have to keep better track of when Claire has that Sound Barrier and when Yoz has the Transcendence.
Nice stick by Tayo. Whoa, he caught Simple in that too. Big pulse bomb for Japan right off the bat. Nearly got rid of that Mercy suit, or not Mercy suit, Diva suit instantly. Either way, Japan looks like they're going to be able to take this defensive fight, and we're into OT. Vietnam not able to get back there, and Japan will take a quick 2-0 here on Nepal.
Yeah, convincing 2-0. Getting rid of that Mercy suit may raise the rating on this game, though.
I guess so. A little bit. It's a rated T for team, you know? I don't know. I just picture somebody like Mercy's face opens up now and like a little person gets out.
Oh, that'd be really interesting.
That's, you know, like in Men in Black, I guess. I don't know.
It's like a 6-inch tall Mercy inside of Mercy.
I suppose. Yo, dog, I heard you like Mercy. Well, Japan looking pretty dominant here in this match so far. Vietnam, you know, certainly putting up a bit of a fight, but Japan absolutely the stronger team here.
I think Vietnam, it comes down to their comms. It comes down to keeping better track of when the enemy ultimates are available. And you see why many regions and many teams have moved away from those big wombo combo style of plays, because if they don't work and if the enemy team has very good communication and ult management, you can nullify so many at the same time. And Japan did that very well.
That's right. So we're going to take a quick break, guys, and when we come back, we're going to see more Japan versus Vietnam, and we'll see if Vietnam can maybe make a comeback. See you then.
Rally to my position. Fire.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by Omen by HP, T-Mobile, and Blizzard Entertainment.
Oh. All that grows must also wither and die. What dies and rots will then nourish the living. This is the great cycle of being, and we, the priests of Rathma, use our dark art to protect it. Though most do not understand us, we go where we are needed. My master has learned that a star fell in the west, drawing the dead from their graves. He commands me to journey to Tristram and return them to their rest. For if the cycle is not upheld, it would mean the end of all things.
Welcome back to the halftime show here for Japan versus Vietnam. Japan up currently 2-0 in the match score. And I have to say, very impressive performance there from the Japanese team. Vietnam really needs to figure out something here to stop them. And I don't quite know what it is, because when one player performs really well, then they just can't shut them down. And then another player performs well. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're going up against some really strong players from Japan. But if they look at their own team and their own composition, what there is to work on, I personally felt, looking at the games yesterday, Mr. Hip showed up on a Soldier, which I really liked. However, today we only saw him on Tracer, didn't get too much work done. Also, I've been questioning Funky staying on that Ana throughout the whole game there almost. I think we saw him switching to Zenyatta at the very end, but at the beginning he was just playing on that Ana, and they nano boosted the Dragon Blade. However, that didn't really do anything. They forced out a Transcendence. It was just not really worth it.
It was no bueno.
No bueno, absolutely no bueno.
Yes. Well, you know what? Let's just take a break here for a moment. In fact, let's take a T-Mobile Unlimited gaming break. Boom. Look at that right there. And the player in discussion, actually, it's going to be a pretty easy one. It's AKTM. This guy right here has been absolutely lights out, Flame. I mean, right there, they missed the Reaper. You know what I mean? He can play literally anything.
There's too many heroes to list on that one little card, but we talked to him, actually. We talked to Japan, I want to say Thursday, and we said, you know, who's the standout player, who's going full-time. He's actually the only player on the Japan squad that does play full-time, which is impressive when you consider how great they're doing in this group. He actually is the only one, I think, that has experience in OPC, and he's had such a crazy hero pool. And it's also something to note that when he can bust out that McCree, a lot of players, even now, aren't practiced on heroes like McCree, heroes like Reaper. They've been stuck on 76 on Tracer for so long. And when you see weaknesses in enemy compositions like they did against Spain yesterday, it's a huge, huge, like, advantage that you get when you have that player who can pick the counter pick, who can take the McCree to the next level, who can play the Genji, can play the 76, and can just do whatever he wants and make it work.
James, it's very clear that AKTM is one of the most, I guess, diverse players that we've seen here as far as the hero pool is concerned. Flame touched on it a little bit. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, with that hero pool, at this point, he's got no shortage of fans, I would expect at this point. I mean, he busts out the 76, the McCree, the Reaper, and the Genji, and he did it at intelligent times when his team needed it. And so that was the most impressive thing, that he did have that state of mind to know when he could actually use these heroes and use them successfully.
All right, well, guys, AKTM has been incredible, and that was your T-Mobile Unlimited gaming break. But now, we have to talk. Thanks for the round of applause in the crowd. Way to go, guys. Way to go. Team effort all around. Love it. Love it.
I love this crowd.
Yeah, this crowd has been
love this crowd.
amazing.
Yeah,
Big thank you. I love Australia, and I want to live here now. I hope the Puerto Rican food in Australia is good. But in any case, so guys, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to discuss match 3 and 4 and see how Vietnam can bounce back, or will Japan just continue to tear it down? Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by Omen by HP, T-Mobile, and Blizzard Entertainment.
always remember that power is a double-edged blade. One side light, the other dark. It calls to you when you are most desperate. When victory seems worth any sacrifice. There is a price to be paid for such a gift. And many eagerly accept the bargain. The righteous and the meek may recoil at its cost. But they have no vision. Power alone is not to be feared. Fear instead those who wield it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2017 Overwatch World Cup Sydney group stage as we get ready for our upcoming matches. The final two of the day. We've given away some free stuff in the venue, too. I tried to get some. They ignored me, and I'm very sad. But, you know, it's okay.
It's okay.
Thank you, so appreciate it.
Welcome.
Well,
I got your back.
let's talk about Vietnam here. I mean, it's their map pick now. What do they do? We talked extensively about AKTM. Do you think that they need to shut down a player of his caliber, or they just need to find themselves in this?
No, they do have to find something against this guy because he's just running loose right there. I mean, it was the same yesterday, right? The teams against Japan, they did well when they shut down AKTM. That's really the damage you have to negate. However, they didn't have a bad start per se, you know. Like if we're looking at King's Row, their first attack was really good on A. It really was. They saw a small mistake from Japan, they overcommitted, and then Vietnam was right in there, taking that first point, and they had a good run up until the second point as well. Then they started overcommitting on their ults. They got a bit over-eager. Then my point about Diana came in, where I just felt like they shouldn't have stayed on her. However, they did, and they continued to do so. So yeah. I don't know.
They have to figure it out. They have to figure it out. Flame, what about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Zoe. It's hard to run the Ana when you have the Diva in your face, when you're running a Genji. They didn't have any real answer to the Transcendences. They were trying to use Nano Blades to counter a Trans, but that doesn't really work. I think realistically, you should just be throwing out a Dragon Blade, maybe force the Trans, then Nano your Winston, or Nano your Winston, force out the Trans, then pop the Dragon Blade. But you can't be trading Nano Blades for Transcendences for an entire map of King's Row. And when you wind up not running Zen on these control maps, you don't have the Trans for the sustain for your tanks. Sometimes your Biotic Grenades get eaten by the Diva, and it just puts the game in a weird spot where you wind up not having enough damage, not having enough heals, and then you just lose slowly.
Yeah, it's like a slow, just beat out over time, right? As they say, like death by 1,000 cuts, and that's certainly something you don't want to see here. So Vietnam's going to have to figure out what they're going to do against this very, very game Japanese roster that is absolutely tearing it up. So we'll see how all this will play out. Let's send it over to your casters. It's none other than Monty and Doa.
Hey, I prefer Doa and Monty personally, but you know, whatever way you want to say it, Golden Boy, I get it. I get it.
Age before beauty, as they say, Doa.
Ah, that's true. And pearls before swine. I don't know if that applies here, but that's another saying I know. You know what else I know? Japan is up 2-0 over Vietnam. Segway! That's right. And, you know, Vietnam, they've got some talent, but I don't know if they got what it takes to take down Japan.
Yeah, I think it is looking dire, although we are going to Volskaya Industries, which I think Vietnam did play their best on yesterday and may force a little bit of a different scenario here on the defense course. It is a very Sombra heavy map for a lot of teams because of how dominant she can be around these mega health packs. And because we have 2 points that are so broad and open, it's very hard to contest them without getting EMP'd.
Right. And so, one final opportunity for Vietnam to at least force a tie in this match versus Japan. But if Japan wins this one, they're going to win the match, and they're already, going to be pretty considerably above everybody else in the group map score-wise.
Still, a 4-0 here would be absolutely massive for Japan when it comes to gaining a lead and perhaps that coveted first seed, because everybody in this group probably wants to avoid playing Australia right now in the playoffs come tomorrow, because they have been hands down the best team that we've had at this group stage.
Yeah, Japan definitely wants to take first. Stacker Pentecost, is that you?
I don't know, is it?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's just a silhouette. Who knows? Looks like we've got Japan on the attack in the red, Vietnam in the blue. And we are ready to get things started here on Volskaya Industries.
So we'll be a soldier defense, and they're having a single support coming in here with Emrier on the Sombra pick, which we expect from most teams here on Volskaya these days. But Japan going to go for that long flank that we've seen so frequently today and try and get control of the high ground and the airspace above the point itself.
Yeah, they want to control this room with the health pack in it too, to kind of deny that Sombra hack for the second time. Japan's got the room right now. We'll see if Vietnam can respond here. AKTM needs to be a little bit careful about how far forward he stands, but they get the kill on the
got the flank.
Great start for Japan. And they've got control of this health pack. They've got control of the room, and Tayo just going crazy on Vietnam right now. Another kill on to Emrier. I guess it's just the Tayo show right now as Japan cleans up the last members of the blue team, and they should be on their way to a very, very fast point they take.
That was a great distraction from Japan. So what they did is they went into the room instead of taking the high ground, and they forced Vietnam to bring their D.Va and their Winston to contest the point.
Yeah.
Once that was done, and Tayo could take the 1v1 against the soldier on the high ground, made a huge difference, gets the kill, and you could snowball from there. So very well done. Patient, coordinated team play from Japan.
That's right. Now Tayo sneaking around the side. He's got that pulse bomb to use. Got to be really careful, though. Nice recall. Oh, the health pack is gone, though. Dearden, you troll. You can't take the health back from Tracer.
That's all right. He got the heals anyway. No, he's going to come in and taps it right next to the D.Va, and AKTF picks up the first kill.
Yeah, Maverick does go down early on. Good start again for Japan here on point B this time. It's a Tracer duel. Tayo going for the melee. There's a reload. Meanwhile, his team just tearing apart Vietnam on the other parts of this fight. Finally, Emrier does go down, and Japan, they are really starting out for what could be one of the fastest Volskaya attack rounds I've ever seen.
Yeah, AKTF did get the nano boost on the soldier there to help clear out that point while we were watching the Tracer duel, and that's going to be it.
5:59 left on the clock. That could actually be the fastest attack round I have ever seen on Volskaya.
Very impressive, especially with Dearden at the end there, using the Primal Rage to knock the D.Va off to get the last few ticks on the control meter.
Dude, if K. Jerry had not just poked back onto that point one last little time, that would have been a over 6 minutes time bank for Japan.
Yeah, that's scary, and a lot of the ult charge was actually lost by some hero switches from Vietnam on the defense between the points, so that threw things a bit into turmoil. And I think once Japan saw that, they realized that they already had a big ult advantage before that happened, and it would be an efficient snowball where they would be unlikely to face any DPS ultimates on the side of Vietnam.
Well, you know what else is unlikely, I think, is Vietnam's ability to win this map right now, because even if they are able to take 2 points, there's no way they're going to get as much time bank as Japan has. It's just a huge lead right now for Japan.
They'd have to have such an incredibly strong attack and play in a manner that we haven't seen them play yet here in Sydney. It looks like Japan is not actually going to be opting for their own Sombra here. Instead, they'll be going for a more mobile composition on the defense.
That is interesting to note. We haven't seen as much Sombra from Japan, which kind of does set them apart a little bit from the other teams we've seen here in Sydney.
And what's also interesting is that they clearly know how to play against Sombra on this map from what we just saw in that attack, but a little bit unwilling perhaps to use it themselves, which I assume they can play it, or at least AKTM can, because he can play everything apparently. So
yeah, back on the Genji yet again for this defense here for Japan. And again, remember, I mean, this is a team that, as they've said, have scrimmed against a lot of Korean challenger level teams. And, their style of play, I'll say it again, I said it yesterday, it really does remind me of a lot of the teams we see over in Apex.
Yeah, certainly does. K. Jerry on the Soldier 76, triple DPS composition for Vietnam. So trying to get the quick picks and burst down one of the members of Japan who are defending on top of the bunker and actually poking really aggressively right now. You don't normally see defending teams play in this room.
Oh boy, that's a dangerous thing for Japan. Funky does go down though. Japan actually drawing first blood here in this fight. K-Jerry a little bit on his own on the soldier, and Japan gonna resoundingly crush Vietnam's first attack.
I mean, that's just a great read by Japan. When they see the triple DPS, they realize that if they get the Winston and the Diva in that room, all of the damage will be cut off, and it's basically a shooting gallery, and there's not enough tankiness and there's not enough damage denial because there's no defense matrix on the side of Vietnam. So really good read right there.
I love it. I mean, Japan just plays in such a fearless way that, yeah, what do you do if you're Spain or you're Vietnam? It's tough. And Vietnam forced back into the choke right now. They're kind of pinned down, trying to get into that room on the right side, but a lot of members of Vietnam already low. Here comes the sword, and Japan already with a couple kills in this fight. Simple does go down. AKTM making that Dragon Blade work once again for Japan. And Vietnam back to the drawing board.
I mean, you can't just do that attack again.
Actually, Mr. Hip is trying to backdoor the point. I was like,
well, he's going to get staggered instead without even getting one tick. So
pretty bad. That was not worth it.
I don't think it was. I think you just have to reset right there. It's so unlikely you're going to get that tick on the point. And most of the time on Volskaya, if you're going to get one tick, you're probably going to get the whole point because that's how difficult it is to defend once the offense has gotten entrenched.
Right. If you win a fight on point A at Volskaya, you're just going to get it. AKTM does go down to Mr. Hip, though. So Vietnam with the numbers advantage coming in now. Sound barrier and tac visor immediately. Japan responds with that transcendence. Emrie pops Jasper out of the mech. And Vietnam, you know, again, trying for these big ultimate combos, but Japan just ready.
Yeah, they are. Mr. Hip at least had the Dragon Blade at the end of the chaos. Japan did layer their support ultimates right there. They didn't really discuss whether the trance or the sound barrier was going to come in, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because Vietnam they committed so hard in the 6v5 right off the bat that the support ult's able to sustain Japan until AKTM got back to the point.
You know, Yo's died fairly late in that fight, but Maverick died after that. So Vietnam still with enough of a staggered respawn that Japan should be pretty well set up by the time Vietnam attacks again.
Poke on the defense right here. AKTM goes back and picks up the health pack. Where is Vietnam going to go? Tayo?
Probably
not
left.
Sneaking. He is just coming back onto the support immediately. Rewinds, doesn't use the pulse bomb, but he is not quite going to get that kill.
Forces the transcendence really early out of Vietnam, though. That's a win any way you look at it. Claire does go down, though, so Vietnam at least putting that Zenyatta ult to good use. Able to get a little bit more aggressive here. Maverick kills off Claire. No supports for Japan. That pulse bomb not doing a lot either. And it looks like maybe Vietnam has just enough to take the point here. Yeah. It was a brawl, but they got it.
AKTM died during his Dragon Blade animation, too. He activated it when he was already so low and basically the only member of his team on the point. Is he going to change heroes right here? Yoz is going to go to the Sombra, but no EMP available.
It's interesting that they would not use the Sombra here on point A, but they're going to swap to it for point B. That kind of surprises me a little bit.
You do see that occasionally, but
it's still good on point B, but why not use it on both, you know?
Okay, well, K-Jerry not going to make any kind of transition here. It's still triple DPS for Vietnam. They had to use all of their ultimates, so poking their way forward right now, trying to get that tactical visor. Yo's already at 50% for that EMP.
Sure enough. Here comes Vietnam on the attack. K-Jerry with that tac visor ready to go. Emrie takes out Yo's very early. Ooh, interesting pop for the tac visor, and he goes down very quickly. Japan coming back strong right now. Dearden using that primal rage to take advantage of Vietnam being kind of clustered up in that side room.
I don't know if I would have popped the tac visor when I was in a small room with a Diva.
And a Winston.
And a Winston. Well, he didn't see the Winston. That came in from the flank. But yeah, he was pretty easily dealt with right there during that tactical visor. It would have been possible maybe if he was just going to switch off of Soldier 76 immediately for him to go ahead and see if he could get anything with that ultimate. But he is staying strong right now with the Soldier. And Yo's waiting, lurking with that EMP.
He's got the EMP now. Just to be careful. There's the invisibility. Going in, they can have the follow-up. There's the EMP. Gets the kill onto Funky instantly, as you often do. And Japan well set up to finish off this fight. Although, well, okay. Mr. Hip not really able to get a lot out of this Dragon Blade. Yeah, looks like it should be a win for Japan here.
Well, he got maybe enough here on the other side of it because he did end up killing the Sombra. So now we have a duel on the side, but now everyone out respawning for Japan. And because they were at the start of the point, they didn't have any extra punching power on the actual point itself when it came to those respawns. So enough of a delay there from Japan.
Yeah, a lot of members of Vietnam falling early in that fight too.
Yeah, they are all coming back, all respawning. So Japan doesn't give up a tick quite yet. Only 2.5 minutes remaining. Vietnam coming in with some support ultimates. They have the cover necessary to get a good tac visor off.
Yeah, Yo's being super aggressive, but hey, it got him the EMP back again. Japan well situated to handle this next push from Vietnam. This is going to be a pretty strong one, though. AKTM has the Dragon Blade, gets the kill already. Ooh, there we go. Simple goes down. AKTM looking for more. Doesn't really find it, but that's okay, because the rest of his team does, and that's another win.
Vietnam is just being so transparent in their attacks.
Oh, man, that is a sad primal rage. Even if it does kill ATM, even if it does, I don't care. It's a sad primal rage. AKTM, again, this guy's pretty good.
He is pretty good, and a lot of that EMP canceled out a lot of the sound barrier. It looked like those ultimates were hit nearly instantaneously, but the EMP doing so much work in that fight and is still hanging around the flank next to that big health back.
Yeah.
Getting that control down. Tayo, he is playing very far forward on that high ground, poking people down. He's going to find a kill with AKTM, and now the dive is going to start.
So close, man. He had an opportunity to kill Maverick. Decided to not pull the trigger on the pulse bomb because Maverick was low anyway. Claire finished him off on the Lucio.
Somebody was actually backcapping during all of that.
A little bit. I think it was Mr. Hip, but then once people started dying, he jumped off the side. That's my guess anyway. Seems that way.
All right, Vietnam needs to get clever here with their approach. They've got to use this Transcendence well to counteract the EMP.
Yeah. Decent amount of ults, but Japan, you know, well stocked as well. Yo's EMP gets a few people funky, getting low, getting dead, and Japan could start already in this fight. Vietnam with not a lot to work with in this push. And after that, 40 seconds left. Vietnam has one last chance. They've got ults to work with.
At least they got the EMP out and didn't use any other ultimates, right?
Sure.
So Vietnam played a more disciplined game right there. But if Yoz gets even a little bit more poke off, this could be a huge issue for them. Tayo is being super sneaky on the flank right now. This is a very forward defense from Japan.
Oh man, if he gets a pick before they can get in there, oh, Funky in a lot of trouble, and that is bad for Vietnam. Oh, losing Zenyatta early like that hurts bad.
It's such a good defense, though, from Japan, because in that scenario, he's either going to pop trance and not have it to stall out the point on the attack, or he's just going to die, right? So gets the kill, even saves his pulse bomb in that instance, and that is pretty convincing from Japan. Don't even need any of their 5-minute and 59-second time bank.
Well, you know, the only way that could have gotten more one-sided is if they would have been able to hold at point A, and, you know, with the way they held at point B, they, you know, didn't really matter in the end.
I mean, Japan's strategies are just so disciplined. Their communication, again, we have to keep going back to that. They knew which ults were up. That's why you saw Yo's going after the Zenyatta, because they knew the Transcendence was there and the sound barrier was not any longer.
Yeah.
And then they look at the clock and they say, okay, we have less than a minute remaining. We're going to post very far up, and they have so much time left that as long as they can force them to use ults off the point, they'll know they're going to have time to respawn, and then there won't be the necessary firepower left over for the Vietnamese side to close out and actually win. So that's it. You know, you change your tactics based on how much time is left, based on which ults are available, and Japan is just playing that so well.
I mean, as we look at this replay, too, I mean, Japan also doing a great job of playing the map geography-wise, too. I mean, really reading well the angles that their opponents' pushes are coming in from, reading the comps, knowing exactly where they can set up for the defense and the offense. I mean, this team right now is really looking like the total package.
I'm just even more impressed, Doa, because remember, these are not Japan's maps, and yet Japan has strategies for all of the maps they're not picking.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, okay, maybe they're getting lucky, and they would have picked these maps. They would have picked Nepal with the Reaper rush onto the point, and they would have picked this map where they clearly know the timings. But what happens if these aren't their maps and they have even more strategies for ones that we haven't seen them play yet?
I don't know, man. It's exciting to think about. I can't wait till their final match tomorrow against Finland. That is going to be the real test, of course, for Japan. And we still have a map in this match yet, too. But I think a lot of us are already looking ahead to what could be a little bit more competitive of a series.
I mean, they've already got 2 wins, right? So
yeah.
putting themselves 2 set wins, I should say, putting themselves firmly on top of their group. And nobody, I don't care who you are, expected that coming into this Group D.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we just didn't know anything about these guys. You and I didn't know anything about this team until we talked to them a few days ago when they came in and sat down with us. And, seeing the way they perform in this tournament, this is why I love the World Cup, because you get these awesome stories of these players coming out of nowhere and being awesome.
What was interesting, too, is, I thought I had a better read on the Japanese teams from watching OPC and seeing some relatively unimpressive performances from the Japanese teams that attended. But when we talked to them, they said, no, those are not the best Japanese teams. Our team, Japan, is made up of the 3 best teams in Japan.
Seems that way.
So they said our level's much higher, and they're definitely demonstrating it here.
I mean, this is one of those situations as we get set up here on Dorado that, you think about Team Korea last year in the World Cup and how they saw how well everybody played together, and then Lunatic High pretty much made that team again, with the exception of a couple people, and they went on to win a championship. So if you're looking at the Japanese side of things, I think this is a team where, even though you're on a couple different teams right now with these guys, you might want to consider doing a bit of shuffling, because this team is looking really good.
They look fantastic. Synergy definitely there. Strategy's definitely there.
Yeah.
And the individual skill certainly there.
Speaking of individual skill, AKTM on the McCree here, possibly, unless he's going to change. Don't troll me, man.
He played McCree on Dorado yesterday.
He did. Japan on the attack, Vietnam on the defensive course. AKTM really putting on a highlight reel of a performance on this map yesterday.
Will be tougher because K. Jerry is playing the Diva. They might be anticipating another triple DPS setup from Vietnam. So how long AKTM stays on the McCree will depend on how good K. Jerry is at shutting him down.
We will see. I mean, this McCree did work really well yesterday because Spain wasn't really running Diva. Might change today. Ooh, AKTM being very sneaky,
We saw this yesterday, too. The
exactly the
slow
same.
creep through the halls, trying to get the flank and get a flashbang pick onto somebody who's standing next to the cart. And they wait for people to commit to that cart, right? He's not going to actually get anything there. Oh, or is he? He is. Okay, Tayo and he will team up, but Jules did fall off the back line.
Here we go. It's the AKTM show already. Emrier going down, and there's another one on the Maverick. This guy. Oh, he missed a flashbang. No, don't die to Anna after all that. Don't. No. Manages to escape. Very low health. Gets the healing, though. And here's that Diva. Here's what he was worried about. Hard to say where K. Jerry was through all that, but doesn't really matter. Japan crushes the defense for Vietnam. You can see AKTM, man, he's having a great time.
These timings from the Japanese teams are so good. I keep saying it, but communication. AKTM and Tayu combining on that flank to find somebody. They're distracting the members of Vietnam with the movement of the cart, and then they pick somebody off and get a lot of free room to push up. Deadeye available, should be able to zone people.
Yeah, he's got a lot to work with anyway. Vietnam trying for a last-ditch effort. There's the Deadeye. No kills out of that one. Does manage to push Vietnam back into the houses just a little bit. That flashbang not working out too well, but that doesn't stop him from getting the kill on the Maverick, and the rest of the team cleaning up. Japan should take a pretty quick point A here.
I mean, even if the Deadeye doesn't get kills, it pushes people off the cart. It pushes them into corners where they're super vulnerable to crowd control or AoE damage, and does the work it needs to do, and they get another very quick cap on point A.
Yeah, looking to take the high ground is AKTM, just watching that corner, doesn't want to get attacked from behind. And Vietnam does have the high ground themselves. They're in the right spot, but they got to worry about this McCree on the other side now.
Tayo almost got blown up right there, but had his rewind in the nick of time, and that's going to be not enough.
Oopsie.
As the Shurikens find him before he can get another headshot onto the Genji.
Yeah, meanwhile, Vietnam able to jump down on the payload and try to push things back. Yos does get the kill on the Mr. Hip, though. And so Japan not out of this just yet. They use the sound barrier, and Vietnam really having trouble kind of capitalizing on that early pick on the AKTM.
Yeah, but they're breaking them apart, though. You can see right now that Lucio in trouble on the side against the Winston that actually did also pick up the kill on the Funky. So the support's being chased away by the Tracer and the Winston of Japan.
Yeah. AKTM with that Deadeye up again. Got a couple kills for himself in that last fight. So over on the kill feed, and that payload still moving pretty fast.
Well, the healing was totally eliminated from the front line, and that makes it very difficult for them to sustain, especially with the latent healing that the cart gives you.
I'm hiding by this cactus.
Not a bad McCree impression.
Thanks. Sound barrier for Vietnam. They really got to get something going at the defense. But AKTM is like, yeah, I'll wait out that loose shelf, but no worries. All right, where's everybody at? Oh, no kills, though. Has to deal with the Winston, and yeah, that's tough, man.
Well, that's one of those times where the coordination really didn't work out right there, because without pressure from his team, it was all too easy for the members of Vietnam to jump him on the high ground. So.
Wow, and Vietnam doing what Spain could not. They're making AKTM switch over to the Soldier 76. You know, he took it pretty far. Not too bad.
Yeah, I think now is the time to do that.
Yeah. Here we go. Japan pushing back in again. Now with the Soldier. Jasper just absorbing what he can on the payload. Zoning out, pushing Vietnam back again. And Tayo comes in with another kill onto Funky. Tayo has been so good on this Tracer at getting in the back lines and killing off the supports. And Simple nearly going down himself. Tayo trying to claim both of them. He does. Both supports killed off by Tayo. And that is going to pave the way for another strong Japan push. Here on point B.
Falling back to the Winston shield as well. So both supports picked up, and Vietnam has to protect them better coming in, because every time their healing gets cut off, and they have no way to sustain over the course of these engagements that are actually focused on the payload.
Sure enough. Here we go. Japan pushing into the final spot now. Tayo gets the health pack, stays alive in the duel versus the opposing Tracer.
Forces the rewind too, which is always nice. That means you get to be king of that zone.
Yep, it means you win the duel, basically. If somebody fights after they use their rewind first, it's tough to win that one. Oh, Simple again, getting very low. Nearly taken out by Tayo yet again. Either way, forced back a little bit. There's the pulse bomb. D.Va out of the suit. Okay, self-destruct from Vietnam as they try to stabilize here.
But even if you don't get that kill, as long as you push them back, there's not going to be that healing. So you can basically farm ult charge off of the tanks at that point in time and make sure that you're always in a better position with your ult economy.
And Yo's with the double kill before he went down. Vietnam trying to just get some sort of purchase on the point right now. Jasper taking a nap, and that's going to allow Mr. Hip and the rest of Vietnam to be able to get a little bit of stability on this point here.
Yeah, but they used the nano boost onto the Primal Raging Winston, so Vietnam down to 1 ultimate, and Japan has 5 for this next attack. This could be the decisive coup de grace.
Could be. Here we go. A lot of ultimates to work with. This is the moment. Still 2:30 on the clock for Japan. They've been setting a great time. Tayo in the back again, of course. Getting that health back and pushing back the opposing Tracer once more.
Here we go. Payload is contested right now.
Yep.
Jerry has to take a backseat, though. Nanoblade comes out for Vietnam.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to send Maverick in as well on the Winston. There's the self-destruct. Can Vietnam get out of the way? No! Simple taken out by that D.Va ultimate, and Japan continues to push forward here. Mr. Hip being a bit annoying in the back, but AKTM, I think he's got an answer for that. Going to take out K-Jerry on the way, and the payload turning the final corner now. Still nearly 2 minutes on the clock yet for Japan.
And K-Jerry dying last is the disaster here for Vietnam, because they have nothing to deal with the tactical visor right now.
Yep.
AKTM saved it, and he's just going to be able to spray it on the point, and that's just it.
Man, another crushing attack round for Japan.
Yeah, I mean, 1:40, respectable time on this map. Vietnam did manage to hold them up for a while because Japan had some failed flanks with the McCree.
Still, on Dorado, nearly 2 minutes. That is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Very good. Well, there you go. Vietnam has to finish their attack round to get to the time bank mode, and then has to do even better to beat Japan. Otherwise, this is going to be probably one of the quicker 4-0s we've seen in the Sydney stage.
Yeah, it very well could be. And this will be a hard run for Vietnam. We need to see something new from them.
Yep.
To throw Japan a little bit off kilter, because it's not working, them trying to go for these big combos time and time again. And maybe the Pharmacy is what it's going to take.
I wonder. It's interesting. Emery over on the far this time looks like Funky will be playing the Mercy. And what's the plan from Japan?
The Japan plan, as it were.
Plan?
Well,
No.
Tayo's gonna switch back to that Tracer, and Japan wants to be able to continue to nano boost their Winston. Has been an effective strategy for them in this tournament so far, and you know, what I like about it is Dearten has been so good at controlling space that when you get that Primal Rage up so fast again and again because you've been nano boosted, it's so hard for Vietnam supports to stay alive.
True.
Because they just get punched out of the fight straight up, but then Tayo comes back and cleans them.
Yeah. Well, Japan's certainly been putting on a show this weekend. And they may end up going into day 3, and they probably will end up going into day 3 with an 8-0 map score.
At the very least, though, Doa, if Vietnam runs the Pharah, it's only short-range damage from Japan. They're going to have to get some dashes off the high ground from the Genji or some leaps from the Winston to actually deal damage. So Vietnam at least has a chance right now to do some damage and get some movement on the cart, at least on point A before potentially a Soldier 76 comes out. But there's also an Ana, so.
I was going to say, yeah, we'll see what Yos can do. I mean, she's not able to 3-shot Fars like she used to be able to, but you can still put a lot of pressure on it. Emrier already really low. Jasper does take down Funky, and there's AKTM, too many acronyms, finishing off the Pharah, and it looks like I'm not sure Japan's going to hold for the moment anyway.
I'm not sure where that Mercy was positioned, where she was able to die so early on in that engagement instead of pocket healing the Pharah.
This has been a kind of a weird scattered fight for both sides. Vietnam slowly grinding forward just a little bit here. Japan coming out with the kills more recently.
I mean, the Mercy is there with the Pharah right now, so this is where you want to be because they don't have an answer for it under the current lineup that they have. But now we're going to see the McCree.
Yeah, AKTM swapping over to that McCree. You know, we've seen the Soldier used a lot as sort of a Pharah counter, but McCree, of course, can do just fine as well if it's in the hands of a player like AKTM.
Might be styling a little bit instead of taking the Soldier.
Could be. Oh, I like this by Yos, too. Swapping over to the Zenyatta, that Orb of Discord, going to make things a lot easier for AKTM.
Yeah, trying to combo it instead of Yos actually dealing the damage, and that's a huge self-destruct.
Yeah, the bad thing about being in the air is that it's really hard to avoid Diva Ultimate, and he gets not only the Pharmacy, but the Lucio to boot. So Japan having a golden opportunity now to stabilize.
Yeah, they absolutely will. AKTM falling in that fight, so we won't be able to set up versus the Pharah this time. Funky still without the resurrection because he died so early on in the first engagement, but he will have it soon.
Yep. AKTM pretty close to Deadeye as well, and with how fast Deadeye charges right now, it's actually become a really strong answer to a Pharmacy that's annoying you from the air again. You know, then again, sometimes you just send your Diva to run into her.
Funky dies right before the res comes up, so no chance of a multi-person res for the Vietnamese side, and Japan just holding on to all their ultimates after handily winning the fight yet again.
Well, Vietnam, you know, with a chance here to try to finish point A. Funky, if he stays safe, he does have the resurrection.
Well, his positioning just hasn't seemed like it's been good. Either his tanks are going so far forward that he feels he needs to heal them up.
Yeah.
And he can't just focus. Vietnam just needs to stay back and play the poking game with the Pharah right now if possible.
I swear, like, AKTM's accuracy has to be something like 60-something% on that McCree. That is really impressive.
I just missed every shot as you said that.
No, we hit one. I only Castor cursed him a little bit, man. Sound barrier for Vietnam. This is their big push. They gotta make it work.
Onto the Pharah during the barrage.
Oh, the pain. And Japan with an opportunity here. Mr. Hip responds, though, with a great pulse bomb of his own onto Yos and AKTM. And it looks like they might actually get the payload there.
Well, Tayo's still around and being annoying on that card. He also still has his rewind. Doesn't end up using it.
Yep. And Claire very low as well. AKTM coming back. He's got that Deadeye, but it looks like they might just let... No, okay, they're going in. No points for Vietnam. Japan does not want to allow it. AKTM up on that high ground. Here comes the Deadeye Transcendence to keep him safe. Doesn't end up picking up any kills with that. Self-destruct does catch Simple again. They have caught Simple so many times of self-destruct. Definitely some positioning issues with that Lucio. Funky comes in with the double man resurrection. And oh, it's so close. They actually get it there. Somehow Vietnam sneaks the payload in.
Now, nobody on the point there from Japan, but you see how well Japan plays around the self-destruct.
Yeah.
So what happened was AKTM popped the Deadeye at the start of that fight, which forced Maverick to drop the bubble, Winston bubble in front of him, and then they just threw the Diva ult over the top. So sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Sure.
Regardless, though, the resurrection will help Vietnam power through. So lost a member, but do have a nice two-man res there to keep the cart moving, and they're not done yet.
Japan swapping Claire over to the Mercy now, actually. Now, we saw them use this yesterday, too, where they were powering up McCree with that Mercy. Meanwhile, Embrier on his own McCree.
So it's suddenly become Cowboy Wars here.
I guess so. Wow. That misses that flashbang, though. AKTM with the Deadeye yet again. And so far, Japan winning this defensive fight.
Mercy falling very quickly, and Embrier trying to get some hits on his retreat while he deals with his... Oh, that's a very late death there.
Yeah, they're going to have to do without one of their DPS for a while, and that's just going to slow everything down for Vietnam.
Now, Tayo again, he's got the pulse bomb, and that means he is looking for the big flank for that big play, and he might find it if AKTM can again zone them out or cluster them up, and on the retreat, Tayo may be able to get the big pulse bomb.
Yeah. They're going to try anyway. They can jump down from the high ground. Tayo waiting for it. There's the sound barrier used on the Vietnam side. Deadeye coming in. Mr. Hip gets a kill into AKTM as he tries to get the Deadeye off, I believe. Self-destruct, not really catching anybody. It looks like there's a pulse bomb. Oh, oopsie.
A little bit too close there, but you know what? Simple's sound barrier was actually denied as AKTM killed him during the animation.
Oh, you're right.
So sound effect went off, the sound barrier did not. So they will have that for another attack here, but Claire has the resurrection ready and waiting.
Hey, don't stop. Let's get it moving.
This is one of the most interesting comp versus comp things we've seen in a while. McCree on both sides. McCree Mercy, new meta, guys. Funky getting a little bit low. Got that sound barrier to keep him up for the moment anyway. K-Jerry already popped out his back. Nice Deadeye. Yos does go down. Embrier making that McCree work, but then gets smacked down by Dayarten's Winston. And Japan still trying to stop this payload. Only 15 seconds left now for Vietnam. I don't even know if they're going to be able to get back to contest this.
I don't think they are. All the choke points are being swarmed by the Japanese players right now, slowing them down as much as they can. And it's 3, 2, 1.
That's
and
it.
Nobody's going to get there.
GG. Wow, and Japan will 4-0 Vietnam and move to 7-1 over the course of this tournament so far. They are way on top of Group D now.
Yeah, that's right. And Finland is going to have to take a big win against them tomorrow. But with how well Japan is playing and how prepared they are with their strategies coming into this event, I think that's going to be a tall order.
And Japan is just this team that nobody expected to have to worry about coming into this one. You know, we kind of wrote them off. Everybody did. But man, are they proving us wrong. And I couldn't be happier. I love this.
Well, you know, it's interesting because there has been a lot more competitive PC gaming going on in Japan over the last couple of years, and I think we're seeing the fruits of that now.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and when we come back, we'll see what the desk has to say about this crazy day. See you later.